for tuning into TTV. I'm your host, Toya, and today is Wisdom Wednesday. And so I'm going to talk about this book. It's called the Tao Te Ching. What it is it's a combination of different proverbs from what they call old wise Chinese men. So it's little bits of wisdom that they gave. I learned about this through watching a lot of videos from Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer was one of those who tried to help people with their spiritual connectedness and manifesting things in their life, along with what was it called? The Secret. That sort of thing where you try to where you not try, but you manifest things in your life to make it better, and to make you happier and to connect you to who you truly are. And so what he said about this book and what he did and how he used it is he would go through each verse, and after he finished that verse, he would write an essay on it. So me, instead of writing an essay on it, I wanted to take this journey and go through it with you guys. So every Wednesday until I complete this, so I got about 60 something more to go, because I think it's 80 something, 81, 82 verses altogether. Just looking real quick. I think it's 80, 82. I'm sorry. Yep, 81 verses altogether. And I wanted to take that journey with you guys because if it brings me wisdom and gives me some insight on some of the things that I may be lacking in, or some areas in my life that I wasn't aware of, I'm sure it's going to do the same thing for you. And so I wanted to share this with you guys because it's so funny. This was written like almost 5,000 years ago in 2500 BCE, okay, or BC, whatever it is, before Christ, okay. That's how I remembered it growing up. They changed it somewhere along the line, but BC is what I remember, but I think it's BCE now. But it was written around 2500 BC, which is almost 5,000 years ago. And what fascinates me is how a lot of the things that it speaks on and a lot of things that it touches on still resonates today. It's still relevant today. And so that's why I go over these with you guys, so that you can get something out of them as well. So I feel like I'm doing this journey with you, basically. So let's just jump in. This one is, like I said, I'm on verse 21. The great integrity is a paradox. I've been posting these every Wednesday, so you guys can go out there and look at previous ones if you want to see the ones before. But verse 21, the great integrity is a paradox. And I wanted to start with that because sometimes we have these ideals of what we think words mean, and they don't necessarily mean what we think they mean. So I wanted to start with the definition of paradox. So, and this was just a Google search, like what is a paradox? And what I got was, it is a seemingly absurd or self-contradictory statement or proposition that when investigated or explained may prove to be well-founded or true. Another one is a statement or proposition that despite sound or apparently sound reasoning, so apparently sound reasoning, from acceptable premises leads to a conclusion that seems senseless, logically unacceptable, or self-contradictory. Last one is a situation, person, or thing that combines contradictory features or qualities. So basically, it looks like one thing, sounds like one thing, or sounds like something is unbelievable, and comes to find out that it is true. And it's not what you thought it was. So let's get into it. So the great integrity is a paradox. It is inherent in the universe, yet its form is so elusive. It is vital essence of everything, of every entity, yet nothing announces its essential character. The great integrity was apparent before time, space, and matter appeared to separate. How can we remind and re-infuse ourselves with this very touchstone of all essentialities and connections? By refusing time, space, and matter with the spiritualization of materiality, and with the materialization of our spirituality. Then, when our dualities and numeralities become blurred and forgotten, the great integrity will reemerge in forms of such incredible depths and dimensions of enlightenment, precisely because of our temporary, fragmentary consciousness created by a multi-millennial amnesia. So there's a lot in that, I know. But I'm gonna break it down because that's what I do every week. I'll read it and then I'll go verse by verse. So each section, this one has 4 sections. So the first section is the great integrity is a paradox. It is inherent in the universe, yet its form is so elusive. It is a vital essence of every entity, yet nothing announces its essential character. So you guys have heard me speak in previous videos where I talk about energy and I talk about that is in us, and we call that, in this book they call it the great integrity. Some people call it source, some people call it spirit, some people call it God, some people call it Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh. There's so many names for it, but basically it's that energy, that essence that is the creation and that is vibrant and living in every living creature. That's why they say do unto others as you would do unto yourself, because we all come from that same energy. We're all connected and we're all one. And with that being said, when you think about this great integrity, or you think about this energy, you don't actually see it as you would see another human being, because it is something that runs and flows through us that is not something we can visually see. And that's what I think this one is talking about, because it says it's inherent, yet its form is so elusive no one sees it. But it's the vital essence of every entity, yet nothing announces its essential character. So it's a part of all of us, but we don't announce it or say like, hey, thank you. Hi, my name is Latoya. I'm God. We don't do that. But we will talk about how we believe we have souls. We have this energy coursing through us. And that's the part of it. So we don't announce it as source or spirit or God or Yahweh or the such, but we know it's there, but we just refer to it as something else. We refer to it as your soul, your ethereal, your essence, some name that we put up to it. The great integrity was apparent before time, space, and matter appeared to be separate. How can we remind and reinfuse ourselves with this touchstone of all essentialities and connections? Well, people have different manners in which they do this. Some use religion, where they go and they worship and they try to develop that connection to that spirituality, that essence that's inside of us all, that energy. That's what some do. Some of us are trying to go through life to where we can reconnect to that and understand that is part of us, and that's a part of everything that is around us, that everything that's living and breathing and everything that's even inanimate. Because as I stated in the previous video before, there is nothing that we have in this world that wasn't created for something of this world. So like this desk was created out of wood, okay? The plastic part was chemicals, but those chemicals came from bits and pieces of the stuff that was here in this world. The steel, the screws and the metal bars and stuff, those were minerals and things that were in the earth. So everything that is here is a part of the earth, and nothing is separated. So it's all living, even though it's inanimate. If that makes sense. We all have that energy that goes through us. So some people go to church every week to reconnect to them. Some of us, we meditate, and we try to find that spiritual connection to reconnect and to rediscover who we are. By refusing time, space, and matter with the spiritualization of materiality, and with the materialization of our spirituality. And that's what it's saying. Once you remove yourself from the material world, once you remove yourself from that religious aspect of it, and you really start to think about who you are, where you come from, and that energy that flows through you, that's how you start to remember. And then the last verse says, then when our dualities and numeralities become blurred and forgotten, the great integrity will reemerge in forms of such incredible depths and dimensions of enlightenment, precisely because of our temporary fragmentary consciousness created a multi-millennial amnesia. So that just goes back to where we've forgotten who we are. And I don't know if it's necessarily that we forget who we are or it's hidden from us, because there's a lot of information that used to, in other cultures, it was day to day. Like if you look back at the Sumerians, you look back at, the Mesopotamians and all those cultures that came before us, there were certain things that they practiced and that they had an understanding of. Like they understood how the planet moves in alignment with the other planets and the stars in the sky, with the constellations, and again with the other planets. And they knew their relationship to that and how that affected their day-to-day life in those time frames. So Like you have the different sauces, you have summer sauces, winter sauces, those times, and those are very powerful times that we in today's society don't know anything about. And it's not, well, I was about to say it's not amnesia necessarily, but it is, because everything that we need to know is within us, but we don't know that. That part is has been forgotten. That part is no longer taught. That what you need, you already have inside of you. You know, we have, if you think about energy and the fact that we're all connected and everything comes from everything, okay? We come from the great integrity source, spirit, God, Yahweh, whatever name you give it. If we all have that same energy, then somewhere along the lines, there's a connection, almost like a spiritual internet of energy and of knowledge and of all this. That's why when we hear some things, sometimes we can hear for the first time and know that what is being said is true. For example, I watched this video on this gentleman today, and he was talking about some of the things that go on in this world, and I knew what he was saying was true. And then he mentioned some things that I already knew, that I found out about as well. And so that was to me just a confirmation that what I'm hearing was true. And that's what happens. We forget, you know. So it talks about the dualities and the numeralities. Okay, the people back in the day, you know, in them ancient cultures, they understood numerology. They understood what that meant and how it correlated with day-to-day life. So as you go through this and as you learn this, you start to remember because again, it's in our DNA, it's in our blood, it's in our energy that courses through us, that we have it, that knowledge there. It just has to be sparked and pulled out. It has to be brought to the forefront. And that's what this is talking about, that eventually what happens is you get to a point where you start to seek it out. And when you start to seek it out, sometimes stuff just comes to you and you just understand and know it. And you can speak on it. Sometimes it's information somebody gives you and you like, that is correct. Or, I don't think that's completely correct. I think you're missing some stuff, you know, or just doesn't sit well with you. And that's because it's not in alignment with what you know to be true on a subconscious level. So that's what I get out of this whole verse. So I would love for you to make a comment below and tell me what you get out of it, how you interpret this whole section. But I think what's happening, and I know, because when I first started down this journey, I didn't hear many people talking about it. There's a lot of things that people were considered taboo, or you were crazy if you thought about it or you said something about it. Or it was blasphemous, or you're going to burn in hell, or all these different ideals that people had when I first started down this journey so many years ago. And now more people are starting to talk about this. More people are becoming receptive to it. More people are opening up to it. And if you think about it, the year 2020 is kind of when it really started to take off, because they said the year 2020 was a vision. Because what happens when you have 2020 vision, that means you have perfect sight. And so people were coming into it, and then we were moving out of Aquarius into Pisces, and so moving out of, or I might have that backwards, but all these things that we think are just mumbo jumbo, they actually do mean something and have an effect on our day-to-day lives. And it's something that our ancestors knew that we kind of pulled away from, that we no longer understand. And so I do see, and I have seen an increase in it. And you have those who don't know what they're talking about that sit out there and they put this information out. But like I said, if you really listen to your insides, you'll know that what they're saying isn't true, or is fictitious, or something is off with it. When you listen to yourself, when you listen to that inner voice, you just know, or your gut feeling, you know that what they're saying isn't true. And that's because of that connection that we have with source, inner spirit, whatever you want to call it. It's because of that connection that we have with that. But I will say that I do see an increase in it. So people are becoming more aware. They are starting to wake up. And this whole part of what it says, the great integrity reemerge. That's what they're talking about there, is that reemergence of source, God, whatever you want to call it, is coming back out, and it's being shown a lot more often now, because you're hearing more people talk about it and people are a lot more open to it. So that was my interpretation of this. Again, I encourage you to drop a comment below, tell me what you think about it, and if you got anything out of this content, please like, subscribe, and share, And I will talk to you tomorrow.